Welcome to the Foul Play YouTube channel. I'm the prize.
I'm going to ask that if you are under the age of 15, that you discontinue listening to this podcast immediately. You have been warned. For those that choose to listen, you may find the contents somewhat disturbing. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, welcome everyone.
That was great.
Shouldn't that warning be at the beginning of every one of the podcasts about him?
Very slick.
What can one do? Well, look, guys, welcome to Reading with Uncle Ken. We're actually on part 32. And for those who are unfortunate enough to have the book or access to the book, we are doing chapter 12 entitled The Prize. And my name is Dr. Silkman, and I'm from the Foul Play team. And guys, if you like what we do, please subscribe to our channel. I think we now have 1,600 subscribers, which is awesome. If you like what we do, leave your DNA on the thumbs up button. Make sure you press the notification bell. So every time we do a podcast or a presentation, you'll be notified about that. Well, look, guys, before we start, I'd like to introduce our panel, our esteemed panel tonight. And each person will say hi so you can recognize their voices. We have Alice.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today.
We have Bibi.
Hey everyone.
We have Checking Convictions.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining.
We have Inexplicable Susan.
Good morning, everyone.
We have Jack61.
Hello, everyone.
We have Neverly.
Good morning.
And we have Sunshine Christina.
Good morning.
Well, welcome everyone. Welcome panel, and also welcome to our dear listeners. What we're going to do, we're going to make a start because this is a very, very interesting chapter indeed. All right, guys, so we won't waste any time. We'll make a start. Chapter 12, The Prize. I quote, "Why did I send sexually suggestive text messages, 30 over the course of 3 days, to a crime victim who needed my help? Why did I risk throwing my career away to date a young woman who'd been knocked around by her ex-boyfriend and was in a completely vulnerable position? 30 times. Many Making a Murderer viewers thought the answer simple. Horny guy in position of power using that position to hook up." Well, no punches are pulled there. And here's my first question to the panel. Who actually agrees with Mr. Kratz's embedded confession? Who'd like to answer that one first? Checking Convictions.
Well, first, I'm wiping my mouth from being sick, okay? Because the guy just, I think he's just, of course, it always is on him. He's so narcissistic that he's just got to, make it sound like it was a good thing.
Correct. And if you notice, he references making a murderer again, as if it's making a murderer's fault. Correct.
Yeah.
Inexplicable Susan.
It's exactly right on. His explanation there. It's perfect.
And what is remarkable, and we've done many chapters of Kratz's book, it is full of golden nuggets and also of embedded confessions. Yeah. And he lays it out absolutely perfect. And let me reread it again, right? Horny guy in position of power using that position to hook up.
There you
Would you
go.
agree? There you go.
That's exactly it right there.
Jack 61. Any comments?
Yeah, no, that was it. That's exactly what you just read. That's why that's Ken Kratz. There's no other making murder had nothing to do with it at all. Nothing.
Correct. And you know what? You know what, guys? Ken Kratz could have stopped the chapter right there.
And should have. And should have.
He could have stopped the chapter right there, and we could have spent 4 hours just on that one sentence alone. Neverly, do you have a comment?
He's what you said, and also he's almost proud of it. You know, he's boasting about it, like, this is what I've done. You know what I mean? Somehow he has this, not somehow, he has this arrogance about himself, and even the most disturbing and disgusting things that he's going to say about himself, he makes it like, oh, look at me, this is what I did. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Yeah.
In a way, what he was trying to do is deflect and blame somebody else for the hassles in his life. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Doc. He's deflecting there. He's trying to say, oh yeah, I done these things, but it wasn't my fault. It was making a murderer's fault. You know, like he has done with everything else. It's trying to take the attention away from him, but from himself, when everybody knows he's a perv.
Correct. But what is remarkable here, guys, is that right off the bat, you could tell he's not going to apologize for anything that he's done. And he's looking for a scapegoat and a way out. Sunshine Christina, do you have a comment?
I think he's also bragging because he got away with it. You know, he's sitting there writing about Stephen and what an evil, vile, perverted, sexually deviant gentleman he is, and Brendan, but then he's bringing up his sexual deviant acts and trying to blame them on someone else, and also reminding everyone that, hey, I'm still writing a book and I still, you know, am free living my life while Stephen and Brendan are locked up for life. You know, it's very sadistic.
Correct. And don't forget, he's also profiteering as well by writing a book, and, you know, he's hoping to sell copies. I don't know why, but he's profiteering from a tragic event, which is the murder of Teresa Halbach. Jack 61.
Yeah, I don't think we have these documents over on the Foul Play Library yet, but this one, anybody wants to read about what Ken Kratz sexual exploitations and so forth were, head over to Convoluted Brine and read away. Take a lot of Pepto with you, though, and Pepsi AC, and have a barf bag. Because
yeah, I actually put the link to that. I think in Office or in one of the walls.
Oh yeah, you did. I'll throw that I'll throw that up in the live. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's what I read today, and I honestly barfed. It was shocking. These exploitations were shocking, and what is remarkable here, guys, you may not be aware of this, but this has been going on for a long period of time, right? It wasn't just after the Avery and Dassey trials. It was years beforehand, right? And, you know, the revelations that are coming out now, a lot of women are coming forward and, you know, basically complaining against Ken Kratz. It's not looking good for him at all. All right, guys, do we have any other comments for our opening question? All right, we're all good? Beautiful. Okay, so let's have a look at question number 2. I quote, prescription drugs shaved away my inhibitions, and I had an untreated sexual addiction. I was a narcissist. Whether it sprung from childhood or my working life, some quirk of my psyche demanded I be in control at all times, the center of attention. And never, ever could I be wrong. And so, believing I wasn't committing a crime or an ethics violation, I thought I could get away with the flirtation. And I almost did. Right. So here's the question to the panel. Oh, and don't forget, guys, in the audience, if you've got a question, please write it down and someone will read it out and we can answer it during the podcast. Here's the question to the panel. Who believes that Mr. Kratz was like this during the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey trials? And a sub-question is, did this explain his behaviour in the courtroom and in press conferences, checking convictions?
Oh, 100%. I've said that since the beginning. Was he on drugs when he was doing this? I mean, yeah, I think he's been this way all of his life. I think he grew up this way. I just think the drugs added to it. That's, just my opinion.
Correct. Yeah. It's a very, very sad story indeed. Bibi, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I believe he was on the drugs and he was doing this behind the scenes voice before Steve Avery, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good point, and I agree with you 100%.
We do have a question from Travis Williams, Esquire. Because he had no income, he needed the book. Did he qualify for retirement from the state retirement system? Question.
That's a good question.
Yes.
That I know.
He kept his pension.
Yes, he got his pension.
Mm-hmm.
He did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very interesting.
And it depends, without somebody saying, well, how much is that? I can't say for sure. I think we all know that he was making, what was it, 100 plus a year. But, when you, depending on your contract with your county and state, so forth, you get a percentage. He wouldn't retire with, and the more years you work, obviously, I think the more you get.
Full retirement, right.
Yeah. But, so I know he has some income.
Travis also says, when did predatory behavior become sexual addiction? Is there anything to sexual addiction?
Yes, so don't worry. We will go into that in this chapter. That is for sure. Thank you, Bibi. Inexplicable Susan.
Yeah, I think absolutely he was doing this during the trial. After reading this horrifying stuff about him, as I recall, there was one incident from like 99, and he didn't get caught until 2011 or something like that.
2010, I believe it was.
2010. So absolutely, he was doing that. And I also like how he said, I was a narcissist.
Correct.
He's been cured. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Correct. Neville, do you want to make a comment on that?
For that? Yeah, so sorry. Yeah, that irked me from the get-go. I'm like, yeah, nice try, Ken. You saying that you were, that's like you were saying, you're saying you were Ken Kratz. You are a narcissist, and there's no cure for that.
There's not a pill for that. There's not a pill for that.
Nope, not a pill for that. Not at all.
Well, he said it himself just a few paragraphs before that he's not sure if it came from birth. So he knows he was born with it. And also, I believe there was a sexual assault type allegation from someone in the late 90s made against him, like for sexual harassment. So he was definitely displaying the same deviant behaviors prior to 2005.
There was also one prior to in the 80s too.
Yeah, which is likely why he was chosen to be the mouthpiece for this case, because they knew that he would play ball.
Correct. And, my thesis all along for this chapter, as you'll see, was Ken Kratz fit for purpose? That's a serious question. Was he fit for purpose to take on the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey cases? And were elements of his personality, did they affect the outcome and his behavior during the court? Because, when I first saw Mam, I didn't know any of Ken Kratz's background, and his behavior in the courtroom and in press conferences was very, very bizarre. It was extremely bizarre. Jack 61, do you have a comment?
Well, to your original question, I do think that he was ranged up during trial and so forth. But after reading as much as I have, pretty much everything that is out there about him, I think that he started having trouble, whatever issues in his early life, early teens, wires got crossed, and maybe even pattern behavior of what he was around in his life. And he thought it was okay, and it just became part of who he is, right?
Correct.
And,
I mean,
go.
I was going to say, sorry, Jack 61, the reality is, if he can get away with this lurid behavior, if he can get away with it when he's younger, he feels that he could get away with it at any age, but worse, he's in a position of power.
That's right.
He's a district attorney. He's in a very, very powerful position. Jack 61.
Not only that, Doc, remember, he was over that women's crisis center or whatever it was that to help women, these victims.
Correct.
These women victims. So he actually had access to another set of, even beyond the district attorney's office, that, cases may not necessarily run through there, that he was over he could scope out and, do the wolf and predator thing. And this other charge we were talking about a minute ago, remember, the SB made her accusations in 2009, and it really got buried until 2010, until Ryan Foley did his FOIA open records request to the DOJ.
That's correct. That's correct. And guys, and also in the chat, if you really want to see Ken Kratz and the way he behaved, have a listen to the interview that the journalist did with him. It was phenomenal. And remember how creepy. Would you say that his voice got really creepy, Jack 61?
Oh, absolutely. You could tell that this was just, he absolutely was petrified of this coming out of the public at large, knowing who he really was.
Correct. 100% correct. Inexplicable Susan.
Deflect. That whole interview.
Absolutely. And it's interesting how he tried to turn it around and blame everybody else except himself.
Yeah,
that's right. Mm-hmm. I thought he was going to hit Foley. I really did. The first time I heard
probably would have.
I really thought. Yeah. Go ahead.
Except, of course, he had a camera and a microphone.
That's right.
That's the only reason what saved him. But, again, we'll cover a lot of this in the podcasts, but it truly is a very, very shameful period for him, and also for what he did to his victims. Neverly, do you have a comment?
Yeah, and what he did right there in the beginning of the chapter, when he pretty much admitted everything what he did wrong in a boasting way. That's a tactic. That way he took control over it. He admitted what it is, and he took control over, and now he can say whatever he wants, which of course he's going to find every single possible excuse under the moon. So, but that's a tactic what he did right there.
Yeah, it is a tactic, but it's also to diminish what he did.
Yes, exactly.
Right? To diminish, to trivialize,
minimize. Yes.
Minimize, absolutely, and we'll see that throughout this chapter. Thank you, Neverly. Checking convictions.
Wait a minute now, aren't we talking about something that just wasn't news? That wasn't news. Why are we talking about it?
Well, correct. Well, here's the issue, right? Not everyone in society is equal. And by that I mean, if you and I had done the things that Ken Kratz have done in a normal workplace, you would be fired or severely disciplined. You'll be in huge trouble.
In jail.
Yes, potentially in jail too. But you'll definitely it'll be public knowledge and you'll be severely embarrassed. Ken Kratz believed, because of his position, that he was able to suppress all these allegations and be deemed to have committed no crime whatsoever, right? So the problem that we have here is that the legal system looks after their own. And Ken Kratz wanted that assurance and protection so he could basically hide everything under the carpet and everything is fine and dandy. He knew as soon as this information became public, he was a goner. Inexplicable Susan.
What did he call it? A little flirtatious texting? What?
Oh, yeah.
What?
No.
Jesus.
You'll actually see that he's trying to blame the victim.
Yeah.
He's trying to blame.
Of course. Come on, dog.
How dare she? How dare she be so sexy?
Pretty. Yeah. How can she be so pretty?
And, yeah. How dare she?
And then he actually says, "I almost got away with it."
Oh, that's correct. He says, "I almost." I quote, "I thought I could get away with the flirtation, and I almost did."
Well, right there it is.
That's the key thing, right? Another embedded confession, which goes to show that I think there were many, many victims, and a lot never came forward. Yeah. Checking convictions.
Isn't that a dangerous statement he's making there? I almost got away with it. Boy, I mean, that is like. Yeah, that's like a serial killer, you know? Oh, I almost got away with 5 of them.
Correct.
It's so dangerous. It sounds so dangerous to me.
Correct. 100% correct. But you see here, as Neville suggested, what he's trying to do is to diffuse it, to trivialize it. And some of the things he says about the victims is just, it truly is mind-blowing. Neville, do you have a comment?
Yes, in the beginning, as he said, I almost got away with it. Who would say that? An idiot would say that, first of all. And then he started to say it's a flirtation. It's part of my job to be friendly with clients, right? Nice one, Ken. And then he referenced it as it was just only one indiscretion. When then later, 15 more came out.
Correct.
Yeah.
But the problem is, Neville, there'll probably be a lot of women who are in different positions in society that don't want to come forward because it'll be an embarrassment to them.
Yeah.
You know, and so in a way, you're only getting a small perspective of what has happened, but the pattern and the MO is there.
Yeah, and people like Kratz, I'm so sorry for interrupting. They don't have any scruples. They cross every single boundary. They don't have what everybody else, like a normal person, has, like a little sense of embarrassment. You don't want to cause any negative attention to yourself. Or
Correct.
If you're caught, you're really mortified. It's really uncomfortable. It's going to cost you, in your inner circle, there's going to be ruffled feathers, whether there's a spouse or kids or friends or even bosses around. But he doesn't have that chip. That chip is missing.
That's 100% correct. And the scary thing is, if he hadn't been caught, does anyone seriously believe he would have stopped?
No.
Not a chance.
Never.
It would have gotten worse.
Yeah, no question about it. Sunshine Christina, do you have a comment?
I just want to say, once again, he did get away with it. Yeah, he lost his job, but he faced no real penalty. I mean, they just like how the DOJ whitewashed the Manitowoc's investigation in the 85 case. They whitewashed it, minimized it. They actually tried to slut shame the victims and make it make it their fault for allowing him access to them. It's
correct.
it's really just bigoted thinking.
Yes, but
It's very bizarre. And this is
well,
a man who sat on the victim crime rights board.
yeah, and
Okay.
he wrote a lot of the laws. He wrote a
Yes.
lot of the laws
I
himself.
mean, this is a sick, sadistic individual.
There's no doubt about that. To me, that's like Norm Garn and Fallon writing all those laws about the retaining of the biological evidence, and then both of them give away the bones to the Hallback family. Right?
And if you if you read some of the emails that they've sent to Zellner, you can tell these men, I don't know if it's that age group or if it's all Wisconsin men, they don't really value women as equals. They really look down on them.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yes. Being a male myself, I'm ashamed to admit it, but it's pretty obvious that in the MTSO, it's a fraternity. It really is. And it's the good old boys club. And, have a look. They've got no respect for Kathleen Zellner whatsoever. And Ken Kratz, you'll see in a later chapter, he refers to her as the circus coming to town, right? As the circus coming to town. Checking convictions. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, as Jaznaz put into the chat, some of them could have died. Does he even realize that them were victims and they really were in a down spot? I mean, him doing what he was doing could be so dangerous. I mean, very dangerous. Have that power and do what he was doing.
Yes.
They don't value women. It doesn't matter to them. They, a woman's gone. Oh, well. A woman's harmed. Oh, well. It's not but let them harm a man in that way and see how they react.
Right. But you see, guys, this is the conflict I have in my head, right? His shocking treatment of a lot of women of all different ages, young and old. Yet, look at the way he behaved in trial with Teresa Hallback. He took on the role as a doting dad.
Daddy.
Yeah, that's right. And one of the websites he used to go to was called Sugar Daddy. How about that?
Like a dirty daddy.
There
Not
you
like
go.
a father, but a dirty daddy.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
They used her.
No doubt.
Correct. 100% correct. Inexplicable Susan, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I just want to say that's an excellent point, Christina, that he did get away with it. He got away with all of that. No consequences whatsoever. I mean, he lost his job, but
he had to pay a fine, and he lost his bar card for 4 months, I think.
Yeah, but he should have been
prosecuted.
He should have been prosecuted for that.
Yeah,
correct.
Because this is like an attempted rape, right?
He did rape. He did
rape one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
One for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
so losing a job over that versus where other people go to jail.
Yes.
Yeah.
Didn't he even leave money on the dresser after he raped the one or something?
Yep, and then went back and got it.
And then he wanted it back.
Yeah.
That's correct. 100% correct. Yes.
And they tried to cover it up. I mean, the
OLR.
LOR. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct.
Yeah, they kept it quiet.
If I could just make the comment, here's the problem. If he was prosecuted, then hard questions are going to be asked. And the questions that are going to be asked is, all right, how long did you know that this guy was doing this? Right? And some of the emails that I've read from the OLR and other organizations ask some real tough questions. Well, how come nothing was done years ago to stop him? Right? So if he's convicted, then hard questions are going to be asked of those in power and in a position to have known what Ken Kratz was like. Because remember, He can get away with it because he's protected, guys. He is protected. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Doc. They're protected. It's like there's two different laws in America. There's the one for the cops and the attorneys and the prosecutors and everything like that that says that they can do anything, say anything, do press conferences with ludicrous statements and everything like that, sexually assault women, and they'll get away with it. But for the average public Joe, as you said earlier, if anyone, whether it be male or female, did
Correct.
that to somebody else in their workplace, they would be fired, they would be arrested, they would be taken up to court, they would be done. I mean, the problem is these people know that they can get away with it because there isn't going to be any consequences. Maybe if they get rid of this bloody immunity and everything
Correct.
like that they
Correct.
so-called can claim, then maybe they'd think twice about going out and sexting women and doing press conferences and planting evidence and everything like that. I mean, there's a police officer here in the UK who has just been sentenced to life imprisonment because
Correct.
he kidnapped and raped Sarah Everard.
Yes.
And this happened this year. And he's
Yes.
already serving life. If that had happened in America, we'd still be waiting for something to happen, you know?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how I see it as an outsider looking in. I mean, our system is no perfect, and we know that just with the Luke Mitchell case and all the other wrongful convictions that have happened here. But when it comes to punishing law, whether it's prosecutors, lawyers, police, whatever, we do the job and we do prosecute them if it's warranted, you know, whereas over there they get
Correct.
away with everything.
Correct. Basically, Ken Kratz felt immune to prosecution.
Yeah.
And hence he believed that he committed no crime, he had done nothing wrong, and he was basically gaslighting the victims. Thank you, Alice. Neville, do you have a comment?
Yeah, we had many conversations about this qualified immunity and how it's so counterintuitive
Yes.
to have something like that in place where all those people in power should actually be held to a more stringent
To a higher
laws, but standards. Yes, because they represent the law that they've written, that's been written, and that they practice. So it's really hypocritical when you then have this qualified immunity that pretty much they can preach, but do as I say, but not as I do, right?
Correct. But the other thing, of course, guys, was that Ken Kratz wanted everything suppressed. He wanted nothing out in the public, and he was furious when the journalists put out the statements about Ken Kratz. He was absolutely furious, right? And he was furious, I think, Jack, with the OLR. He was furious.
He was furious with the DOJ because he said that they leaked it.
Yes. Correct. And yes, we'll definitely be talking about that. But again, it's sort of like Ken Kratz got caught with his pants down, right? He got humiliated and embarrassed and didn't like it. And he was really pissed off that he got exposed. Jack 61.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that we have to remember to make the distinction here of, I mean, it seems like it all should fall, and it should fall under one umbrella of the things that he did, but we have to make the distinction that these actions that he took against these women, and Sunshine is dead right about how he look what he did in the Halbach case. Instead of making that case about her, he made it about him.
That's correct.
It was almost more about him than it was about Stephen and Brendan, right?
Correct.
That's what he wanted. He wanted the spotlight. Number two, we also have to remember that these complaints that got filed against him, J.B. Van Hollen, especially the one from SB, that got buried. because it got reported to the police department, but then they're like that made its way sideways up through the chain of command to J.B. Van Hollen, which was the Attorney General, and he stuck it in a folder for forever. I mean, they did do some investigation.
Think about a year.
Yeah, that's right.
About a year.
That's right. That's exactly right. And then they had done some, conversations and so forth. And I mean, I'm sure that, however Ryan, we've had this talk before, however Ryan Foley found out, I'm guessing that the victim, SB, reached out or someone and said, you need to contact the DOJ and find out what's going on with this case because nothing's happened. And this was a year ago. And he did.
Correct.
And
correct.
So, I think that also Alice touched on it a little bit, that because of him being a lawyer, and it's not just district attorneys that get to go through the OLR. It's pretty much any lawyer in the state of Wisconsin. Their cases get handled by this lawyer, Office of Lawyer Review or whatever, and they don't go through the system like the rest of like everyone else. They get handled differently,
right.
And it's wrong. It's just flat wrong.
Correct. It's basically to, as Ken Kratz said, to protect the integrity of the lawyers and the district attorney.
Oh my God!
So in other words, if you and I committed an act like this, our names will be splashed all over the newspapers and will be on television. But if a lawyer or a district attorney does it, let's deal with it in the back room. Neville, do you have a comment?
Yeah, what you just said, how ridiculous does that sound? They want to protect the integrity of the lawyers who are doing these things. So why protect them?
That's correct. That's because as Ken Kratz, you'll see later on in the chapter, it might destroy his career. Right?
Who cares? If you're a predator, who cares? A career is your last priority, buddy.
Correct. But he didn't care about the victims. He didn't care about his victim. No. That's the important point here. Sunshine.
Travis, I'm sorry, just one more thing. Travis Williamson said, where did he say? That there is no qualified immunity for sexual harassment or sexual assault, which makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah,
but then Penny got away with it anyways.
Yeah, exactly, Neverly. As an outsider looking in, he does have immunity because nothing was done to him, even by the lawyers and everything like that. My God, they investigate themselves. So if they're investigating themselves, how can they find themselves doing wrong? It's just stupid. They need to have a separate place, like an independent review or commission or something like that investigates the misconduct in lawyers and police and everything else, because the Wisconsin DOJ investigating the Wisconsin Police Department, is there going to be an objective decision or anything like that? And we know that with the Lautenschlager case. She said that there was nothing wrong and nothing happened and nothing was badly done in the 85 case. When we know that that's a load of shite, you know what I mean?
Correct.
So, for an outsider looking in, Travis, it does look like there is some type of immunity. Fair enough, it might not be a legal immunity, as you say, for sexual assault or harassment, but when you're in that club and the cliquey lawyers and that, he has got immunity and he has got protection, because they're going to gather around him and they're going to go, oh, but he didn't mean it.
Well, he was investigated and there was no charges brought, because he wasn't tried.
Correct.
So they've already ruled that it wasn't sexual. It didn't.
Oh, no. There were charges. There were charges. He pled no contest. 6 charges.
So he's already pled. Oh, there was criminal charges, or was that for the OLR?
It was the OLR. I mean, that's all I'm saying. He went through a separate system. They were They were real charges, but they handled them differently. They handled them. They handled them differently.
They made sure that there can't be any charges brought by those women criminally against him. Is what they did. They effectively stole their voice and minimized their claims and
Yes.
allowed Ken Kratz to get away with it. And the other
Correct.
point I wanted to make is Ken Kratz was not happy about losing his job. He felt
No.
that by helping the state of Wisconsin and being the mouthpiece for getting these convictions, that he had a golden ticket. And he was livid
Oh, God, yeah.
that livid that they had the nerve to
Yes.
try him on these cases, because he thought he was untouchable.
Correct. And keep your powder dry, Sunshine Christina, because we'll be talking about that in a moment. Checking convictions.
Yeah, Travis says any of those women could have brought a suit against him in a civil suit.
In fact, I think one of them did. I think one of them did.
Isn't that why he filed for bankruptcy?
He may have, but
right.
I know that he had to pay approximately $23,000 for court costs, and I think $10,000 was the civil suit. From what I've read,
he had to stop, not practice law for 3 months or something. It was just
correct.
4 months.
Correct.
4 months.
4 months.
Correct.
Ridiculously short.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I looked up his law license the other day, and he hasn't renewed it. He can't practice in Wisconsin. It's not suspended, but it's not valid. So
No, he didn't renew it. You got to pay for that. You got to pay for that every whatever amount of time. Just to add to your thing about the bankruptcy, that was, I think, prior to his divorce or somewhere. Yeah, and they ended up splitting selling the house, splitting whatever escrow they had, and everything's pretty well laid out. I've got those documents somewhere.
yeah.
Travis says the OLR is separate from criminal system. In the fact that no criminal charges were filed is all on that prosecutor. And then he states he never paid court costs, so never reinstated.
Right.
But the thing is, he shouldn't have the license in the first place. That should have been the first thing that got took away from him, because he was in a position of power, and he used that position of power to get to women that were not in the right frame of mind or anything like that, and took advantage of them with his position. So he should have, what did he tell these women? Did he tell these women that they could get their ex-partners or whatever it was sent to jail and everything like that if they done this or if they done that? Because we don't know. But it must have been bad, and maybe these women were too frightened to come forward after seeing him getting away with everything that he bloody done.
Oh, correct. And there's always an element of threats, whether implied or implicit. So if you're in a vulnerable position, if you're a victim of domestic violence, you are very, very vulnerable. And it's very interesting reading some of the emails that exchange between Ken Kratz and some of his victims. They were terrified because they lived in a domestic abuse situation. And guess what? The person who was meant to be looking after them and their interests was also doing sexual abuse. So you can't win. Bibi, do you have a comment?
Well, he also blamed all of us, the people who watched the movie, for him not being able to practice law, because we all talk bad about him and say bad things and are mean to him.
Yes, correct.
We ruined his career. Yes.
Correct. It's another slap in the face for making a murderer and its supporters, right? So Ken Kratz again is displacing his anger on Ma'am and us, the supporters. Inexplicable, Susan.
I think if that were to come out today, with the Me Too movement, I think he would have been brought up.
Yeah.
And hung by his balls.
Yes.
I was just going to say that. Is it any wonder that women do not come out who are sexually assaulted or taken advantage of in that way? With everything that we just pointed out, the immunity protection, the pack of wolves, the protecting the lawyers and cops and whatever. How do you, I mean, you're already damaged by the event or events, and now you have to go out. Who's going to believe you? And then who are you going to fight against? And do you have money for all of that? Even if no money is involved, let's say you get a pro bono attorney or whatnot, you strike a deal, still it becomes very, very public. They can ruin you even more. So I totally see the reason why women say, well, forget it. I don't want to deal with it, and go about their life. Yeah.
Correct. I'm sure there are other women, other victims that have decided to remain silent. They may live in Wisconsin. The pressure to, is too much to bear, and they'd rather not discuss it. That happens all the time. I don't know what the statistics are, but only a small percentage of women who are assaulted, raped, bashed actually come forward, right? That's the terrifying part. And, Ken Kratz was in a position of power, a position of authority, and his victims, they were vulnerable. They were vulnerable, guys. It doesn't get any worse than that. All right, guys, do we have any other comments, or can I continue with the next? Neverly.
Yeah, that's like priests abusing those children. Same type of deal. Yeah.
And also school teachers with children, the whole gamut. If you're in a position of authority, you got to be held to a higher standard.
I totally agree. Yes.
Yeah, because
oops.
Yeah, so checking convictions.
I'm sorry, you can finish. I just wanted to read Travis's statement.
No. Go for it.
Okay, it says, wait, what cops are covering up sexual harassment by prosecutors not understanding that part?
Oh, no, I'm not saying that they're covering up. I'm just saying that people like Ken Kratz in his position need to be held at a higher standard, right? People like Ken Kratz who digress and commit these acts need to be made an example of. If laws are there to protect that type of behavior, guess what, guys? They'll keep on doing it, right? So, again, it's a very, very horrible situation for everyone here. Yeah, so I'm not saying that the police were covering up sexual assault or anything like that. But according to Ken Kratz, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't transgress any boundaries. Okay? All right, guys, can we continue with the next question? We're all good? Okay. A quote. Let's go back to October 20th, 2009. The Avery case had wrapped up 2.5 years earlier. Handling the usual sexual assault, drug, and property crime cases, I'd become bored. I didn't want to be a prosecutor forever. Private practice, teaching, becoming a judge, running for Attorney General or Congress all seemed viable options. So my question is, considering Mr. Kratz's self-confessed addictions, was it irresponsible for him and his clients to be taking on cases like this? Right? When you consider Ken Kratz's addictions, should have he been taking sexual assault and drug crimes? Who'd like to answer? Alice.
No fucking way should he have been anywhere near a sex crime case, a sexual assault case, a harassment case, or anything like that, because that's what he was doing to other fucking women. So how can he be objective or anything like that if that's exactly what he's doing? It's
Correct.
ridiculous. Because the same thing has happened with Daniel's case. We're now finding out that the judge that presided over his case is actually alleged to do sexual assaults himself on younger lawyers and everything like that. Bloody
Correct.
hell, what are we coming to?
Correct. 100%. Look, put it this way, guys. Say you're the owner of a blood bank. Would you give Dracula the head position of the blood bank? and would you trust him? And would you trust him? Right? So here is a guy that absolutely admits to being addicted to sex, addicted to drugs, and he's actually taking cases involving sexual assault and drugs. That's the last person that should be taking those cases. Inexplicable, Susan.
It's no different than a pedophile going to be a teacher or in a position around children. It's the exact same kind of thing.
Or a daycare worker.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Very, very good point. Very good point. Sunshine Christina.
I want to make it clear that in the state of Wisconsin, you can be charged with a sex offense. And if you are on the side of the DOJ and the law enforcement, that charge will be dropped, minimized, or reduced to where you're not facing serious consequences.
Okay.
If you are not in the good favor of these people and you are charged with a sex offense, they will prosecute you fully to the extent that the law will allow, whether you committed the crime or not.
Okay.
We know this for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. We know this. I just want to make it clear that I stand behind. They minimized what was done to those women because Ken Kratz was in good favor.
Yeah. Let me give you an example, Sunshine Christina, that we all know well. I only have to mention two names: Gregory Allen and Dennis Vogel.
That's right.
Yes. Or Ken Kratz and Stephen Avery.
Correct.
And Stephen Avery didn't even commit the crimes. And you know what I mean? Or Brendan Dassey and Ken Kratz. Brendan Dassey is a registered sex offender for life.
Correct.
He didn't commit. That was tried for. He was tried for that crime by a serial sexual abuser of women who got his crime whitewashed and his victims minimized. So law enforcement has let people get away with abusing and harassing women.
Yes.
For sure.
So that's my theme of this chapter so far. Was Ken Kratz fit for purpose? Was he fit for purpose? Could he point the finger at Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey when he himself was committing these crimes against women? How could he possibly stand up in court and point the finger at Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey while behind the scenes he had all these issues and abuse of women? Sunshine Christina.
Yeah, well, the reason he was able to do it is because he had a law license, a law degree. But,
yes.
But morally, is he right to judge anyone for their behavior? Hell no. No,
that's
not.
100% correct. That's the argument that I'm trying to put forward here, right? And I'm telling you, towards the end of the chapter, I'm going to read out what a law professor wrote about Ken Kratz, and was very, very interesting. Inexplicable, Susan.
Well, he's also in his book trying to blame this all on Ma'am, and how he got bored and got into prescription pills and
Correct.
because of not Ma'am but the trial because of Stephen Avery. He's blaming it.
Yes, but the other frustration here, guys, is simple. right? He thought that he was the knight in shining armor. He put behind prison for life Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey, and he now thought the road was going to be paved for him and that he could do no wrong. Look what he wanted to do, right? Private practice, teaching, becoming a judge, running for Attorney General or Congress, right? So he wanted to shoot for the stars. And Neverly.
Yeah, he was running on that high that he got the popularity, the money, the accolades, that he thought he was that hot shit. And with like any addiction, your tolerance is getting like higher and higher, and you need more and more. So that's why he got bored. He wanted to, go. He was chasing it's called a dopamine chaser. He was chasing that natural high, whatever
Yes.
that may take, whether it's alcohol, prescription drugs, combination of sexual assaults. And just to point something out, people don't forget, as Jazz Naz one pointed out a long time ago, like an hour ago, that Ken Kratz has a diploma privilege. He never passed the bar. That's a possibility in Wisconsin, and there you go. Ken Kratz has a diploma privilege, he did not pass the bar. Like all the other lawyers, just because you practice in Wisconsin, nobody is stopping you to take the bar. But, he likes a quick fix. Yeah.
Yep. Correct. 100% correct. All right, guys. Do we have any other comments? We're all good? All right. Now, let's make a start in this section of the chapter. I quote, "After 18 months on the nationwide spotlight with the Avery and Dassey prosecution, I suffered the hangover that comes when that spotlight goes dark. In my thirst for excitement, I'd become a serial cheater, relishing the secrecy and the risk, and eventually torpedoing my marriage. On October the 20th, 2009, a tall, attractive young woman named Stephanie Van Grohl walked into the district attorney's office in Chilton. We discussed the charges against her ex, and then the conversation turned personal. Single at the time, Stephanie told me that she tended bar and wanted to be a ranger in the Wisconsin park system. Somehow, from the way she sat and talked, I got the impression that she was coming on to me. Wrong." Now, don't blow up your microphones yet. Here's the question. How long had Mr. Kratz been behaving in this totally reckless manner, and what influence did this have during the Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey trials? Jack 61.
God, where do I start, Doc? Personally, I believe he's been this way for decades. I've said it before. I'll say it till I die. And nothing he can ever say to me will ever change that, because he didn't just wake up and say, "Oh, well, I just think I'll just, go all stupid here and in my position and go after these women like this." Number two, why would he name this woman in his book? Come on. Why would he do that?
Correct. Well, you see, the reason why I reckon he named her is to shame her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is to say, okay, you put me in the spotlight, my name's in the spotlight, I'm going to put your name in the spotlight.
Which goes exactly to what the Sunshine and the rest of the ladies have been talking about.
Correct. And so notice how he said, and I'll quote, "I got the impression that she was coming on to me." Who would like to make
Probably because she talked to him and made eye contact, like most normal humans do when you're like having a conversation. Oh, she thinks I'm cute. Well, I'll just, God.
Correct. correct. Thank you, Jack 61. Sunshine Christina.
How dare a woman ask a district attorney for assistance? She must want something more from him. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the special prosecutor. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous that these men can say, "Oh, well, she smiled at me." I mean, this is part of what the Me Too movement is all about, right? But
Yes.
Wisconsin is stuck in the stone cold age, and they just have this abhorrent and just ridiculous view of the female species. And and a lot of it has to do with age. These are men that are probably now in their late 60s and 70s, and
Yes.
the women were mainly known to be in the home. So that makes Zellner for sure an oddity for them, because she's their age. She's probably way more intelligent than they will ever be, and way more successful. So they, it really rubs them the wrong way. But as far as these women who Kratz is trying to blame them for him, doing the things that he did to them, it's ridiculous. It's another excuse.
Correct. But notice what he cleverly did. He blamed Stephanie. He said, I got the impression that she was coming on to me. Neverly.
Yes. Just to continue on what Christina said, how they were appalled by Zellner and still are, and hence the guilters, how disrespectful they are, and they're doing really some personal damage to, not that she cares, I don't think. They're calling her old and ugly and
Yes,
clown and blah blah, all of that. And I'm like, really? Look at Fallon. If we're going to be talking about natural beauty, look at Fallon, look at Asbender, look at Uyghur, look at Ken. My God. If we're going to talk about like personal attributes and what God gave you as beauty. I'm sorry, but that's really, really low. That just tells you
correct.
that, they're intimidated by her. But,
exactly.
When you go for the personal looks, I think that that's really shitty, because it actually has nothing to do with that.
No, it's a personal attack. It's a personal attack. Thank you, Natalie.
Some of those Reddit attacks on Zellner were just to the extreme. Like, there was one who said, well, actually, there may have even been several who said that they wish that she would be assaulted by multiple men at the same time until she died.
Oh, yeah.
It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And a lot of these people are connected to the case personally. So these are men who are representatives of the state of Wisconsin who are saying this, and they're saying it because they're using an alias. But if one if one had the ability to find out who they were, I think people would be shocked and disgusted by the things that have been said about women connected to this case.
Yep, correct. But the trouble with being an anonymous keyboard warrior is that people deliberately come in to disrupt the group. They do it deliberately. Most of them are either paid or they're designed to go in and cause as much chaos as possible. There are professional trolls, right? You could spot them a mile away. They'll make a derogatory comment and then disappear. Their whole idea is to get you pissed off and upset, right? But when you don't respond, they don't have any power. Now, Kathleen Zellner is in a position to blow the lid right off the MTSO and the Wisconsin culture of certain individuals, right? And they're terrified. So they've got to come up with all these different type of tactics to try and diffuse Kathleen Zellner. And here is Ken Kratz, who prosecuted Stephen Avery and Brendan Dassey. And I don't know if you remember what Ken Kratz said about Stephen Avery answering the door in only a towel. Oh, he had nasty sexual intentions, right? And he made that public and he insinuated. What did Ken Kratz say at all the press conferences every time someone shoved a microphone to his face and in court? Stephen Avery lured Teresa Halbach. Lured. Is he speaking from practice? Jack 61.
Well, yeah, well, I think that's out of his own playbook. Personally, I think you're right there, Doc.
Correct.
But I want to. Travis had a comment that I want to clear up, and I'm 99.9% sure I'm right in this. He had asked about if the governor, the new governor, reopened this case with Ken Kratz and these victims that these people he went, these ladies he went after. What happened is that in 2009, when SBG filed her police report, and then of course it got all hush hushed and blah blah blah. Anyway, however, Ryan Foley found out and made his open records request and got the information, and of course it was going to come out. They had no choice. I don't remember if it was a different governor or not, but it wouldn't have mattered. They had to reopen the case. It had to be reopened, and that's what I remember.
I dropped the link in chat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I saw that you'd got that link.
Yeah, I dropped one too. It looks like they whitewashed it, and so many people complained that they reopened it because there was
there was an outcry.
Well, but nothing happened until Foley did the open records request, and that's when Kratz, he was arguing with this guy at the DOJ. Said, "Oh, you guys, you weren't supposed to say anything. You leaked this information." No, they didn't. It was legally requested by a reporter.
Yeah, if there ever, I know this sounds ironic, but if there ever is to be given a journalistic prize, Foley deserves one.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Yes.
Now that's what you call proper investigative journalism. When someone is prepared to stick them out there and cop the heat and actually achieve something. Right, and Kratz, not even in his wildest dreams would he think that it would have come to this. He was just steamrolling along, destroying victims and doing whatever he wanted with no recourse. Jack 61.
Yeah, he was arguing with this guy. I can't remember his name. I'd have to look. But he's like, well, don't my 25 years of service count for something? Like that gives him a right to assault these women and get away with it. And not only that, the way he treated, some of these victims. I remember one story where a mother had brought her 16-year-old daughter in.
Oh, no, not that one.
Oh, yeah. My gosh.
Yes,
it should be talked about. Yes.
Keep going, Jack 61.
Well, and the questions that Kratz was asking the 16-year-old girl were so inappropriate. It was ridiculous. I mean, I'm not going to go into the questions he asked because people can go read it for themselves, but my God.
That was the part of his job that he loved.
Well, of course he did.
Oh, yeah.
Correct. But now that we know his personality, I think he was getting off on all this lurid behavior.
Oh, absolutely.
And asking totally inappropriate questions. And that mother said, normally the questions I would have expected was, can you identify the person who assaulted you and what's your name, age, and address? And that was it. None of these sexual innuendo. I was, quite frankly, very embarrassed and shocked.
There were no innuendos. They were direct disgusting questions.
To a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah, in front of her mother.
In front of her mother.
I'm sure he was getting aroused while asking all those questions.
Absolutely.
Yes. And the scary part is that there was the 16-year-old girl, her mother, and Kratz's assistant, who was a woman. And all of that was going on. I just don't understand that.
That's correct.
It looks like the original investigation by the OLR, he stayed employed. Am I reading this right? And when they reopened it is when he finally resigned.
He
Yes.
resigned. He resigned because if he hadn't, the governor was going to throw him out, and he knew it.
Yeah, but I mean, so when they first investigated it with just the one allegation, he was able to keep his
Oh yeah,
position
yeah,
as a DA.
yeah.
And then when they reopened it, because more people came forward with more allegations.
Yeah, that's why I've reminded people that when the first allegations were made in 2009, remember, Brendan's appeals were going on. I think probably Avery had some stuff going on too, but Brendan's stuff was definitely going on. And then January of 2010, which is, we're going to be recording that here for too many more months. Kratz was right in the middle of that stuff. Okay. And then it wasn't until 9 months later, approximately, that he was forced out of office. So, I mean, come on.
Yeah. It has everything to do with Stephen and Brendan. Everything.
Correct. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, just a couple. I'm not surprised with the questions that he would ask this 16-year-old because, and I mean, this is just my opinion, but everything that he said in the March 1st press conference was one of his fantasies, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's what he wanted to do to somebody, you know what I mean? But instead, he put it onto Brendan. And came out with all this vile stuff that Brendan and Stephen were supposed to have done. That was in his own mind. That wasn't anything that they had actually done or proof that they had done. That was in his own vile mind, in my opinion.
Yes, I think the press conference was one big embedded confession. You're right. Yeah. One big embedded confession. It was an absolute shocker.
Yeah, definitely, Doc. Definitely. There was something else. Oh no, I've just had a brain fart. I'll come back to it if I can think of
it. Thank you, Alice. Jack 61.
Just for the record, and I can either post a link or I can read these out or do both. Kratz was charged with 11 counts from the OLR. Just so we're clear about that. Yeah, you want me to just post a link and then we can talk about it later? Would that be better?
Yeah. In fact, that's almost like a good open mic topic at Jack 61.
Oh my God, it's awful.
Open mic suggests.
I'll throw the link into the chat so people can go look at it.
Yes, that's a very good open mic discussion for sure. Thank you very much, Jack 61. Neverly, do you have a comment?
I think that you nailed it on the head, Dr. Silkman, when you said that Kratz was projecting himself onto Stephen. And everything that he said at the press conference throughout the trial and post-conviction interviews, when he said, well, he's just a psychopath. You know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, yeah, Kratz, you're really qualified to say something like that. And I think that that's exactly what it is. Because we couldn't figure out where is this hatred coming from. We thought it was the spotlight on Stephen, that he was like a quote-unquote a celebrity. But basically, you said it. It was the projection. Everything that he painted Stephen that's how Kratz thinks about himself. That's how he feels about himself.
But,
narcissists are aware of that, and they're masters at projection. When they, when they accuse you of stealing because they've stolen from you, when they accuse you of cheating because they've cheated on you, you know what I mean? Of lying, same thing. So that's what projection is, and it's clear. So thank you very much for pointing that out.
No problem at all.
And Nan's Life 7 said, she said, I think that Kratz was chosen to prosecute Stephen and Brendan as payment to save his own skin, in her own opinion, which kind of makes sense too, because he went out with guns blazing over the top.
Yes, but my original question stands. Was he fit for purpose? Should he have been in that courtroom with behavior.
Not a chance.
No.
I agree 100%. But you see, the damage has been done, right? The horse has bolted. There's no point in closing the gate now. Neverly, do you have a comment?
No, thank you.
Okay. Alice.
Yeah, I've remembered what else it was, Doc. The fact that, I mean, one of the things that really gets on my goat about the system is the fact that lawyers, prosecutors, judges, whoever they are, police officers, if they've been caught for misconduct or sexually assault allegations or whatever, the fact that they can retire or have the option to retire with all their benefits in tow is fucking ridiculous. If they're getting allegations against them of any kind of assault, harassment or anything, they should be fired on the spot, and all the benefits that they were entitled to when they were supposed to be a decent officer, lawyer, prosecutor, judge or whatever,
Correct.
should be taken away from them, Doc. It really should, because it's
Correct.
too easy for them to turn around and say, oh, right, I'll just retire as long as I can keep my pension and I can keep my bonus and I can keep my car and I can keep my holiday home and all the rest of it. If they
Correct.
thought that all that was going to get took away from them or could get took away from them, maybe they'd
Correct.
start rearranging the thought processes in their head and actually do their job properly and investigate things properly, you know what I mean? But the
Correct.
fact that they can just either take the option, get fired, or retire and get all of that. No. When that comes up and it's the allegations are there, they should be sacked on the spot and they tell that they're getting nothing. You know what I mean? And especially if it goes to court and everything like that, it should get taken away from them, because that's too much an incentive, in my opinion, for them just to turn around and say, oh, okay, then I'll retire.
Well, the thing is that Ken Kratz thought he was bulletproof, right? He had protection from his legal buddies, right? And remember what happened in the 1985 case. The Attorney General herself, Peg Lockenschlager, whitewashed the investigation. Whitewashed it. So hence, all the people from the MTSO, Kacerek, Vogel, all of them, they breathed a sigh of relief and said, phew, nothing to see here, guys. Don't bother me. That's exactly what happened to Ken Kratz. He can say, well, no charges were, they found me not guilty. What's your problem? So he just wanted it all to disappear. That's why he was really pissed off with the journalist, because he made it public. And that really, really pissed him off. All right, guys, do we have any additional comments? All right, we're all good? And you're right, Alice is correct. You should pay for your consequences, right? Doesn't matter who you are, what position you have in society. If you transgress, you have to pay the price. Otherwise, there's a disequilibrium between normal folk and lawyers, doctors, you name it, judges. If you make that distinguishment, then the law can never be fair. It's as simple as that. All right, guys, here's the next quote. I quote, I had been using a combination of Ambien, Vicodin, and Xanax, not exactly conducive to clear thinking. After the 15-minute meeting, Stephanie gave me her cell phone number in case there were updates about the case. I popped another Vicodin. Feeling no inhibitions that afternoon, I texted Stephanie. I quote, I wish you weren't one of this officer's clients, unquote. I wrote from my desk using my private cell phone, quote, You'd be a cool person to know. Quote, awkwardly and aggressively, the next day I upped the ante, sending 19 more text messages. One read, I quote, are you the kind of girl that likes secret contact with an older married elected DA? The riskier, the better, unquote. Quote, you're pretty, quote. I told Stephanie on the third day, October 22nd, and then I typed the sentences that made me a laughing stock, not just in Wisconsin, but around the world. I quote, I'm the Atty. I have the $350,000 house. I have the six-figure career. You may be the tall, young, hot nymph, but I am the prize. I added that, I quote, I would not expect you to be the other woman. I would want you to be so hot and treat me so well that you'd be the woman. Are you that good? Quote. Now, here's the question. Here's the question. Was it the drugs or Kratz's real personality at play here? Did he not realize that there were serious consequences for his irresponsible actions? Jack 61.
It's the real Kratz. He took the drugs on his own, but it wouldn't have mattered if he'd taken them or not. That's just an excuse. That's all it is.
I agree with you, 100%. Neverly.
Here we go again, blaming something else for his actions. So now he's saying, I have a sex addiction. I was a narcissist. I'm taking alcohol and pills combination, and that's what's making me act this way. It's never just him. He's the one who takes the action to reach in the drawer and pop the pill. You know, if you're happy and you know it, take your pills. That's what he does.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. 100%
So
correct.
the guy is unbelievable. But that's typical of narcissists. They will spin anything away from them. Yeah.
And thank you, Neville. And before I carry on, just so that our audience knows, Ambien is for insomnia, Vicodin is for pain relief, and Xanax is for treatment for anxiety disorders. So he was on a very dangerous cocktail of drugs. Inexplicable, Susan.
Yeah. Are we supposed to believe that he's been cured of all this when he went to his, sex
therapy?
Oh,
yes, when he went through
the therapy. Yeah.
I mean, he makes it out that he's been cured of all this. Yeah, right.
Correct. He says he's all good to go, and he counsels others who are addicted to sex and drugs. He counsels
Jesus. Oh my God.
And we mustn't forget, he wrote to Stephen Avery. If Stephen Avery wanted to confess, he would write a book about it. Remember?
But no, it was so nice of him to do that.
And he also said, just so you understand, here's your one and only chance to tell your truth and to become famous, but I will benefit from this book. Not you. I will.
Yeah.
So,
Correct.
Jesus. One more thing, if I can say.
Yes.
Alcohol potentiates the mood you're in. So if you're depressed and you drink, you're going to be a depressed drunk. If you drink coffee after you're drunk, you'll be awake drunk. If you're happy and you drink alcohol, you will be a happy drunk. So this Kratz is what he is. Alcohol and drugs just exacerbated those, not symptoms, but whatever.
Yeah. His personality and his behavior.
Personality, yes.
Right.
Yes.
But
that's what it is. It's not the other way around.
But think about it. We've got a district attorney high on drugs, addicted to sex, right? Abusing crimes of victim, and he's in a courtroom judging other people, right? So you've got this explosive cocktail of a DA let loose in a court of law. And that's the question I'm asking. Should he have recused himself right from the get-go? Alice?
Yes. He
Yes,
shouldn't come near.
correct. Never. Alice, do you have a comment?
Just something I want to clear up that's going on in the chat. Travis was saying about women being sexually harassed. Travis, what I'm meaning is that if there is multiple people, yes, women do make sexual harassment claims falsely. Yes, they do. But what I'm meaning is that if there is multiple women coming forward saying that this person has done this, and there's got to be some proof for the statements and things like that to come out.
Correct.
Then yes, they should be sacked. They should not be allowed to be able to say, oh no, wait a minute, I'll hand in my resignation. If I hand in my resignation, I still get this, that, and that. That's not right. What about the victims that have went through this harassment? What have they got on their side? What did they get out of this? Apart from having to go through the trouble of having to go to court and prove their allegations, and in the mindset of some men, not all men, but some men, that because of what she was wearing or how she acted or anything like that. That's what the victim has to go through. But the accuser is allowed, the perpetrator is allowed to get these allegations put against them, not face any real consequences, and be able to leave a job with a pension that's due, worth thousands and thousands of pounds. They're allowed bonuses, allowed to keep bonuses and everything like that. Where is that fair? So yes, in my opinion, if these allegations are coming from multiple women,
yes,
then something needs to be done, and it needs to be stopped in the bud, and they shouldn't be entitled to privileges if they're being accused of sexual harassment or sexual assault.
Correct.
Alice, if I could just help us, the situation when you said they should be sacked, you mean the perpetrators, not the women,
yes.
Right?
Yes,
okay,
Beverly.
I think that was
Yes.
a part of the confusion. Yes, they
Yes.
meaning the perpetrators.
The
Okay.
perpetrator, yes. Because they're the ones that get the choice, Neverly. You know, I'm going to sack you, or you can retire and you can keep all your bonuses. But
Yes,
the women,
but the way it was said, you know, if multiple women come out, they should be sacked. It's inferring that the women should be sacked, but you meant the perpetrator. Yeah,
the
that's all.
perpetrator, yes. Sorry if that was the confusion. Yes, the perpetrator should be sacked and not receive all these bonuses and everything like that. I do apologise if it came off that way. Thank you, Neverly.
Yeah, but the other issue, the important thing here is that some of these crimes were historical. In other words, they didn't just happen to occur after the Avery trial and Brendan Dassey trial. They occurred prior, right? Prior to those cases. So Ken Kratz had a history, right? Plus he was also in a rock band, right? He was a lead guitarist in a rock band. I think it was called Alibi. The band was called Alibi. And on bass, guess who was playing bass? Brad Schimmel, the Attorney General, who stuck his nose in involving Brendan Dassey. So these guys are like a pack of wolves. They all hang out together, right? But the important thing is that the story the victims were saying, even from a long time ago, was all consistent. And these women didn't know each other. But the stories that they were writing about Ken Kratz were all consistent. his behavior was repulsive over a long period of time. And it didn't matter whether they were domestic abuse victims or even law students, right? Even law students, they're all fair game. Checking convictions.
I'd just like to state that we are talking about Kratz and Kratz only. We're talking about his book and Ken Kratz. I just want to state that.
Correct. We are focusing only on Ken Kratz. But the important thing here, guys, is that we're using Ken Kratz's words. We're not making anything up. We're going straight from his book and we're discussing it, right? We're not putting in speculation here. It's directly from his words. Guys, do we have any other comments?
Nope, good to go.
You all good to go? Oh, guess what landed on my desk? And the actual email, the actual text messages between him and Stephanie. Would you like to hear it?
Ooh, yeah.
Well, here we go. Now, KK is obviously Bibi. You yes?
Just going to say story time.
It's story time. Okay, KK is Ken Kratz, and SV is obviously Stephanie. KK, it was nice talking with you. Feel free to text me between 8 and 4 if you are bored. You have such potential. See ya, Ken, your favorite DA. SV, don't worry about me. My motto is just keep going, and thanks for everything. KK, I'm not worried. Well, maybe just a little. I'm more curious what made me text you, SV. 'Cause you're a nice person? KK, okay, we'll go with that answer. Thanks for putting up with me so far. I wish you weren't one of this officer's clients. You'd be a cool person to know. SV, thanks. The next day. KK, no text yet today? I'm feeling ignored. Are you even up yet? SV, yes, I have a fever. I hope it's not H1N1. KK, oh no, I hope you feel better. Do you want me to bring you some chicken soup? SV, LOL, no, I don't want anything to eat. KK, how about a margarita? That has some fruit juice in it. SV, LOL, too funny. KK, seriously, I hope you feel better soon. Please keep in touch. It's maybe not the wisest thing I can do, but you are awfully sweet. Just don't tell anyone, okay? SV, I'm telling everyone. JK, haha, and thanks. KK, I know this is wrong. I'm such an honest guy and straight shooter, but I have to know more about you. Does that make sense to you? I bet you get this a lot. KK, are you the kind of girl that likes secret contact with an older married elected DA? The riskier, the better? Or do you want to stop right now before any issues? SV, dunno. KK, I need direction from you. Yes, you are a risk taker and can keep your mouth shut. And you think this is fun? Or you think a man twice your age is creepy? So stop. SV, I have to think about that. KK, okay, no problem. Either way, I think you are very nice. I'm very smart, but know this is all up to you and really does depend how close to the edge you live. SV, LOL. KK, still wondering if I'm worth it? SV, don't know. KK, can I help you answer any questions? SV, no. KK, you don't say much, do you? SV, never really did. KK, when you are that pretty, I guess you don't have to. Now the compliments start. SV, oh my. KK, it's true. Why would such a successful, respected attorney be acting like he's in 7th grade? Are you worried about me? SV, I won't lie. Yes. KK, you should never lie to me. Obviously, we have talents to offer that the other is intrigued by, or you would have called me creepy. You want to accept? SV, I don't know how good an idea that would be. KK, me either. It's stupid. Have you ever been spoiled by someone? I mean, like being taken care of and spoil him with attention in return without ever saying no? SV, I've been with a dickhead for 10 years. No, I don't. KK, quite frankly, I don't know what would happen. It would go slow enough for, and then it's blanked out, case to get done. Remember, it would have to be special enough to risk all. SV, I don't know. KK, if you are not worth that kind of passion, we'll know it right away. For now, I'm just suggesting we find out. It's either perfect or I'm not going to do it. KK, hey, miscommunication. What's the sticking point? Your low self-esteem and your fear you can't play in my big sandbox? Or, KK, I'm leaving for the day. Let me know after 8 tomorrow. You will either be excited or grossed out about the opportunity you have, but it will only come once, the next day. KK, what do you hope your life looks like in 5 years? What kind of residence? A job making how much in the household? A relationship with what kind of guys? Dollar signs? SV, no guy, just graduating from college, house that bought for blanked out, and I doing part-time work as a park ranger for Highcliffe maybe. KK, how are you feeling today? You stopped talking yesterday. SV, okay. KK, are you serious? Okay, that's it. Are you in a board meeting? You are beautiful and will make a great young partner someday, but I won't beg. SV, LOL. KK, I'm serious. I'm the Addy. I have the $350,000 house. I have the 6-figure career. You may be the tall, young, hot nymph, but I am the prize. Art convincing. SV, I think your wife would have something to say about that. I don't think I could be the other woman. KK, finally, an opinion. I would not expect you to be the other woman. I want you to be so hot and treat me so well that you'll be the woman. Are you that good? KK, you forgot to write me for the last time saying you could never give me enough attention to steal me away, and you are so modest that you wouldn't know how to. SV, right. KK, and that you may look good at first glance, but women that are blonde, 6 foot tall, legs and great bodies don't like to be shown off or to please their men. KK, when the case is over, if you change your mind and want to meet for a drink, please tell me. Otherwise, I'll respect your desire to be left alone. Now, guys, stop your convulsions. Do we have any comments about that? Now, I want to hear, especially from the ladies, how would you take that conversation? Checking convictions.
I would have told him to kiss my ass and quit texting me, you dirty ass. I mean, he's a jerk, and he has absolutely no right writing that stuff. And can't he tell by her one-word conversation that she wants no part of his bullshit? I mean,
correct. But
that's how I feel.
but checking convictions, I think you made a mistake. Definitely wouldn't say kiss my ass because
oh yeah, really, he might have took that as a come on. I mean, he really would have. Yeah, well, I would have told him, look, you keep this up, you asshole, and you're going to be right on my list for suits.
Correct. Sunshine Christina.
You can tell that she is worried that because he is the DA on her case, that she's
Correct.
trying to placate him without leading him on. I don't see how he continue. I mean, can he not take a hint?
No.
You could hear him in the messages. Okay, like one word answers. He knows she's not biting at what he's throwing her, but yet he still continues. That's obsessive compulsive behavior.
Correct. 100% correct. He never got the hint that Stefan was not interested at all. She was playing along because he's prosecuting her boyfriend, her ex-boyfriend. So, she knew that Ken Kratz held the power. Does any other ladies want to make a comment? If you had that exchange with Ken Kratz, how would you feel? Neverly.
I don't know. I'd be probably scared to death, just like she thinks she was. She even reminded him that he's married.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And despite all of his encouragement and enticing and bragging and all of that, she still didn't bite, did she?
Correct.
At least not in this conversation.
But
that's when you pick up your stuff and you leave. You know what I mean?
But Ken Kratz never got the hint. He never got the hint.
Oh, no. He was looking for, he smelled the fresh blood.
That's what happens. That's what happens, right?
Yeah, this is what he sucks the energy off of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what a stalker does. Yes, exactly. I agree totally.
Correct, 100% correct. Thank you, Neverly. Bibi.
Yeah, the conversation would have never got that far. I would have shut that shit down.
Yes.
Right away.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But you have to admit, Stephanie was in a very vulnerable position, and Ken Kratz took advantage.
I know, but I'm used to shutting guys down on the internet.
Okay.
I'm very good at it, used to it, so I would have shut him down.
Okay.
Right away.
She's a victim, so she was frightened, I'm sure. You know what I mean? She was already from an abusive situation. Who knows how that person was towards her? We really don't know, but so she was probably just afraid she wouldn't get help or whatever. I mean, you're talking to a vulnerable person, so of course a lot of things are going to go through her head.
Correct. And mind you, the text that I read out, this is some of the tamer stuff. Some of the stuff that Jack 61 talked about was much more explicit. And even I'm too embarrassed to talk about it on air. That's how bad it got. Alice, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I'm seeing
what would you say, Alice, if he approached you with that conversation?
Oh, he would have got told to get to fuck. But you fuck off, you numpty, is what he would have got told. But no, I'm seeing in the chat a couple of things that Travis had said. When it comes to Daniel's case, Travis, that is completely different because none of the women came forward, but of their own accord. They women were hunted down. So because that's multiple women, what I said earlier, it is completely different when it comes to Daniel's case. If all of those women came forward of their own accord and said and gave the right description of Daniel and everything like that, then Daniel deserved what he got. But the fact is that the women in Daniel's case, there was only a couple of them that actually came forward. They gave a completely different description of the perpetrator and who it was meant to be. They said a short black man. Daniel is 6 foot, half Japanese, half American. And the police went hunting for those women. So that's a completely different situation when it comes to Daniel's case.
And we're talking about Kratz.
I was talking about Kratz, yeah.
Yeah,
And
correct.
I'm also seeing that he's mentioning about another victim that wasn't in the OLR. And it doesn't matter whether she was in the OLR or not. She came forward. She told her truth. And the fact that you had mentioned she showed police the text and she was afraid the case would be dumped. Who would have gave her that impression? Obviously, Kratz has gave her some sort of impression of that, or she's just picked that up that that's the kind of person he would be if she did anything that has advances or anything like that. Then he could drop her case. And
he has the
what she wanted.
He has the power, and she knows it. So
exactly, Jack. Exactly. So that could be a reason why. But not only that, we know what he's like, Jack. You know what I mean? We know what Kratz is like, and he could have put out that impression. You know, as I've always been told, sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So if he said something in a certain way, and she's picked it up, oh shit, if I don't do this or I don't respond to this, is he going to drop my case? Or he could drop my case and that could lose everything. He had the power. He had all the power.
We also know from the DOJ investigation of the 85 case that they will conveniently lose or forget supporting documentation that doesn't go with their narrative. But we have found this documentation ourselves, so we know it exists. So, you know, this is Wisconsin we're talking about.
Yeah, but going back to the messages, again, Kratz cannot help himself but to blurt everything out. He said it himself. I'm the man twice your age, a successful district attorney. Okay, then she said you're married or something to that sort. You know what I mean? So everything was out in the open. And in that case, you know, she is twice as young, right?
Yeah.
So she doesn't have the life experience. She's already vulnerable. So I hope she was, well, obviously she was saving those text messages and reported him. And that's exactly what you do. You don't even have to threaten. You just save him and you go and you report and excuse yourself from that. Because if you threaten to report, they could be, like really be quick and do you a good one really, really quick, you know, like the next day. So then it's too late. This way, you just play along and you go report him and you find yourself another lawyer. What an awful situation to be in. What terrible. An awful, terrible.
Terrified. She had to be terrified.
Predator and a prey. That's the name of the game.
By predators. Her ex-husband was a predator, and the man who's supposed to protect her from that person, you know, she did the right thing. She went to the law, and this is who they gave to represent her, to help her. Another predator? I mean, it's friggin' disgusting.
And what's incredible and ironic is Ken Kratz calling Brendan Dassey a lamb to the slaughter. And that's exactly what his female victims were. Lambs to the slaughter. And he was the slaughterhouse master, right? Because he had a whole bevy of women that he could potentially attack, you know, and abuse because they were coming to him. They were coming to his office. So he could take on all these cases. And the women were very vulnerable. Very vulnerable. Sunshine Christine.
He had they were like fish in a barrel. He had his them.
Correct. I mean, it to me, it's like an analogy of a diabetic going in a sweet shop, right? And they can't help themselves. They're surrounded by sugar, and they're going to obviously overdose on sugar.
And that's not a behavior that just suddenly comes upon you.
No.
A predator is a predator. So minimizing women's claims because they didn't make it into the OLR, it's, Ken Kratz didn't become this person overnight. He didn't become this person because of Ambien or Percocets or whatever he was addicted to. He has always been who he is. I bet if someone was to go and speak to women who went to college with him, he was the guy at the frat parties. If a woman was unfortunate enough to drink too much and pass out, he was trying to cop a free fill.
He told Bill Cosby. Yeah. It just the situation begs a question, like the chicken and the egg. What came first? Did Ken Kratz become the chairman of the victims of domestic violence first, or did he for the good cause and like, oh, I can bank on this one, or did he go there on purpose because he knew he could bank on the women?
Well, I think Neville, he chose his victims very carefully. He knew, and that's why he said to each one of them, "Can you keep your mouth shut? Are you willing to undergo the risk?" If any of them had said yes, they were gone. They were goners.
And see, that's even scarier because that means he has a type and he knows, or he thinks he knows, who's going to tell on him and who isn't. And that's very predatorial behavior. That's like
they're very good at that.
Yeah, that's like child molesting type shit.
Yes.
And narcissists in particular they're really intelligent. And what he said that he's intelligent, he didn't lie. He's really intelligent, but it doesn't work out in his favor in a good way.
No, but
it only damages him and everybody around him. But they're amazing. They have this amazing ability how to read into you and see what you need and play that role so you can fall for them. It's amazing. It's a trap.
Correct. 100% correct.
Ask of any of his numerous wives how they fell into that trap.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but you see, well, how can I say? Someone who's been married so many times, he obviously got sick and tired of one particular wife and decided to go on to the other, and then she wasn't any good. But to make matters worse, he even said he was a serial cheater, which meant that even while married, he lived the life of a single man and dated multiple women, right? And he had no care in the world about the consequences because he never thought he will get caught.
Yeah, they get bored easily with anything.
Very bored. Yes,
they're
correct.
looking for the thrill. What is that? Living on the edge.
Correct. Living on the edge. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
They're looking. They get bored so easily. They like
an
variety.
Adrenaline junkie. Correct. Checking convictions. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, with his personality traits and the way he is, a lot of those type of people seek out places where they can do them things, where their narcissistic behavior can come out, like with the sex, abuse things. He knows how he is, and he thinks they're vulnerable, and of course, he is a person to be attracted to that. So he seeks that out. I think that is a lot of the his thing. He's I don't even know how to put it into words.
Yeah, because he can control them. He likes vulnerable people, so he could control them. Yeah, women, should I say. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Correct. And don't forget, he was extremely jealous of Stephen Avery, the notoriety, the fame, the fact that he was shaking politicians' hands. He was, they named the bill after him. And Stephen Avery was at most of the depositions as well. So Stephen Avery was hearing all this crap that the people that were deposed were spewing, right? All garbage, right? And his civil suit lawyers, they were rubbing their hands with glee because they knew that everyone was toast, right? So here we have a broken person A broken person, addicted to drugs, addicted to sex, right? Addicted to serial cheating. And now he's now judging and saying someone else is a sexual predator when he himself behaved in that way, in that manner. Just mind-blowing. All right, guys. Well, look, we've been going for about 2 hours or so. It's 1 o'clock in the morning for me, but we've covered quite a lot. But I'd like to do one more question. Is that all right, guys?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Because we definitely can't do the entire chapter in one hit. We'll be here for 6 hours. But I quote, after all the media attention the Avery trial had brought me, after convicting one of Wisconsin's most notorious killers, that I could impress a young woman with my house and income, neither of which were that impressive, especially considering they were connected to a 50-year-old rotund, squeaky voice creep. Okay, now the question is this.
Oh my God. Can you read that again?
Yes. Especially considering they were connected to a 50-year-old rotund, squeaky-voiced creeper. That's his words. And the question is this. Who believes that Mr. Kratz was also suffering from grandiose delusions? Who'd like to answer that one? And Neverly.
I do.
Neverly.
I do, totally. Everything what he said. Remember how previously he said that he's going to go for a mayor, he's going to go into Congress, become a judge.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, sure, Kratz.
Correct.
Yeah, they're just waiting for you. You know what I mean? Yeah,
correct.
But under all of this, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist or anything like that, but under all of this, my personal opinion is that it's deep hatred for self and depression.
Yeah.
So that's why he needs to chase these thrills to get him out of that prison, which is self-induced. Yeah, but never mind.
Correct. And what is interesting here is that he actually says in his book, he says no harm done. That's the conversations that he had with Stephanie. He actually writes in his book, no harm done. Right? That's how delusional he was. He thought, was it just a casual conversation? I saw nothing wrong with it. Sunshine Christina.
I think he suffers from many, many, many afflictions of the psyche, grandiose delusions being one of them.
Correct. Yep, I agree 100%. I mean, it seems to me that he was getting very frustrated that his progression was going nowhere, right? He wanted all these top positions, but you have to earn that respect. You have to earn that right. It's not going to be handed to you. Checking convictions.
Yeah, I think this case should make any lawyer or anybody that has to do with what he was involved in should have to have a mental evaluation before they can do it so they can prevent this, because I mean he's obviously been this way all of his life, and just him being able to have the things that make him thrive available to him with his power is just wrong. Maybe there should be some kind of mental evaluation they have to do before you can get that.
Correct. 100% agree. Bibi.
Well, definitely some kind of drug testing. Random. If you work at a grocery store, if you work in a factory, you get random drug tests.
Yes. I think...
why not if you're in the government?
That's true. And, the sad thing is, had they tested Ken Kratz, he probably would have blown up the drug machine. All jokes aside, because it's not fun to make jokes of people who have addictions, right? It's very, very bad.
But at some point in time, his clean urine tests are going to turn into dirty ones because he became addicted to drugs.
Correct. 100% correct. And you see, you have to ask the hard questions, right? Did his addictive personality alter the manner and his behavior in court, right? Because at times he acted like a school kid, right? He's always telling off the judge. He's always telling off the defense team. Whenever the defense team brought anything up controversial, he stamped his feet, spoke to the judge, and got the jury out.
Well,
Right?
he said to that girl in the letter that
Yeah.
he was like a 7th grader or whatever.
A 7th grader, correct. Basically acting out like a kid. Neverly, do you have a comment?
I think that this chapter, at least the beginning of it, I don't know what comes next, is the most transparent and honest chapter that he's done so far. With all the deflections and minimizations and trivializations, with all of that, he still put himself out. He said, it's ugly. This is me. And we should believe him. People tell us who they are. We don't believe him. He said exactly who he is. And yes, I believe that personality, like Kratz has, the narcissistic personality disorder, along with drugs and alcohol and the natural high and all the energy that they derive from that. Yes, as he said, he lost his inhibitions. He
Correct.
just went for it. And his behavior was wonky, completely wonky. What he got away with, that I think that people just don't expect something like that to come out of a normal person's mouth. But he didn't.
No.
He took advantage of that, yes.
And remember,
and I do not believe for 1 second, I'm sorry, Dr. Silkman, for interrupting,
no worries.
All of this happened because of the Avery trial and after the Avery trial. We all agree that this has been going on. He just got caught this time.
Yeah, systematic.
It's like thieves.
Systematic.
And it's like cheaters. You get just caught once, but it doesn't mean that it only happened once.
Correct. Well, it's a long history of, these indiscretions. Jack 61.
Yeah, I think to add to what Nerly's saying, that this is actually a really honest chapter, probably the most honest, with the exception of this has been going on for decades, the bulk of his life. And that's the truth. There's no way that this started happening in 2008, 2009. I'll never believe it, ever.
Correct.
He's been doing it his entire life, basically.
Correct. And I remember Buting on a show with Dr. Phil actually gave that hint. Remember when he said, "Oh, what about that incident in the 1980s?" That's
right.
Oh, that was all cleared up. That was all cleared up. Nothing to see here. So even the defense attorney Buting knew of Kratz's past, right? Because lawyers, they talk.
Oh, sure.
And it's interesting. If I could just make the quick comment, one of the other victims who worked in the law profession had mentioned something at some event regarding Ken Kratz, and they all rolled their eyes thinking, oh no, here we go again. So he had a reputation, a BB.
Yeah, there's also something in the phone calls where Mom is talking to Steve, and she says that this guy from Stevens Point, who's almost like an Amish guy and has no phone number and stuff, keeps mailing her newspaper clippings about Kratz being dirty from where he was before. Yeah.
Yes. Very interesting. I know this is speculative. And I'll probably be going to be shot for saying this. But let's think about this carefully, right? He was addicted to sex, right? He was addicted to narcotics, drugs. Teresa Horbach was a photographer who also did, intimate photography.
Boudoir.
And she also did, took photographs of naked couples, etc., etc. How do we know that Kratz didn't know about this?
We don't.
In fact, who is that Ken who wrote to Teresa Horbach?
That was her friend.
No,
That was her friend?
Yeah, that wasn't Kratz. That was her friend.
And he was in like some kind of Weekend Warriors or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't remember his last name, but it wasn't Kratz. Yeah, that's come up before. Yep, I know what you're talking about, Doc.
Yep. So how do we know that there's not a connection between Ken Kratz and Teresa Hobart?
We don't.
Nope, we don't.
And the only reason why I said that is he really cracked the shits when Buting said, we want to know about what was in those phone calls. Remember how Ken Kratz turned white as a ghost?
Deer in the headlights.
Yep. What was on those phone calls? What potentially could have caused embarrassment to Kratz?
Are you saying that, are you asking a question, a possibility that Kratz knew Teresa before all of this happened and whatever? Yeah. Like on a personal level. Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
And the reason why I say
speculation, of course, yeah.
Speculation, of course. The reason why I say that, isn't it interesting how Kucerik just happened to be very good friends with the Bernsteins, right? And he became personally involved in taking on her case, the violent sexual assault, and how he narrowed in to Stephen Avery, and he was arrested that very same night. That very same night, the Sheriff Kucerik took on the case. Interesting, isn't it? All right, guys, do we have any additional comments? We're all good? Well, look, guys, we have been going for over 2 hours. And like I said, I don't want to rush it because we've got plenty more to cover. Are there any other questions that you want to ask before we shut down? All right, we're all good. Well, look, guys, why don't we just quickly go down the panel and ask us how you've been going and what you've been doing the last week or so. Alice.
Nothing new, Doc. Just the same. Just try to get stuff done with the channel, things like that. So nothing new. All good.
Awesome. Bibi.
No, nothing new here. Just mundane, routine life things.
Good. Checking convictions.
Oh, I ain't got time to tell you all the things I've been doing. I've been all over the place. But I've been on Jeff's podcast, Jeff Jones, and he's starting I'd like to announce that he's starting a like after dark ma'am discussion where he'll be just discussing the case and then other current events. And I was on that, and I think it's a really good thing, and I hope people really catch on to that because Jeff is doing good things. And other than that, not much.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you very much, Checking Convictions. Inexplicable Susan.
Well, I'm in the middle of moving. Looks like a tornado came through my house right now.
Oh, no.
And I'm having a sale in a couple of hours, so I'm glad we're ending this. Yeah.
Nice. You never know. Ken Kratz might come along and buy something.
Oh, Jesus.
Sorry about that. Awesome. And
Did
all the
you
best.
hear about a murder in my area?
Well, yeah. All the best with that move.
Thank you, Doc.
Jack 61.
Well, not to let the cat too far out of the bag, we received a number of new open records requests. And when I say a number, I mean, well, Christina, can we say a lot?
You can say many.
Many.
14 PDF files.
That was just
reports.
That was just one. There's more coming.
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
On top of that, there are a number of these are old emails that we've gotten from MTSO. And I got to tell you, I think we have to be responsible about what we release. It's something that we need to talk about. And again, I don't want to let the cat too far out of the bag before we discuss anything, but some really interesting things. So planning on an open mic tomorrow. I can't tell you exactly yet what it's going to be about, but it should be new and interesting.
What time is that at, Jack?
I think that tomorrow we're going to do a later one because I've been doing some earlier ones. So tomorrow is probably going to be 5 or 6 Central. So Doc can maybe be able to join us. It's not so damn early for him.
Yeah, because in South Australia we've got daylight savings now. So,
oh, it changed.
Yeah, we changed. Yeah, so I started the podcast at 11, not at 10. But that's okay. That's all right.
Well, next goes the UK and then us, and then we move times, right?
Yes. So we could, good Lord, Zoe has to work out what the best time is for all of us again.
Yeah.
And then you have to get up early, and we get to sleep in.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I've been trying to alternate the open mics, but I did 2 early ones, and it was really early for you. So I think this one for tomorrow is going to be probably more towards the 6 p.m. Central Time. So it's not quite so early for you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much, Jack61.
Yep.
Neville, what about yourself?
Well here, Doc. Thank you very much. All is well. Nothing special.
Good. Sunshine Christina.
Well, like Jax was saying, we've been working on FOIAs and we've actually had some good success on some new stuff. So, and we think that a lot of it is relevant. And that's pretty much all I'm doing. I actually, for those who are on Discord, on the Foul Play Discord site, Zoe let me start a room for the unsolved murders and missing women of Wisconsin. I started in 1990 and I'm going forward, but any case is welcome. So if anyone has a missing or unsolved murder case of a woman in Wisconsin, please put it in the room. Any and all information. And I was discussing with Linda about maybe her and Jeff featuring some of these cases on their channels. And if anyone else who has a channel wants to do that, we could definitely do that. A lot of these cases I'm finding, if the family or officers involved don't want them to still be relevant, they're not even listed on these websites that Wisconsin has, like the Wisconsin Missing and Unsolved Murder Clearinghouse. Some of these cases aren't even mentioned on there, and that's just a crying shame,
Yes.
I mean, they deserve justice. They deserve to be found, and their killer and what happened to them deserves to be known.
100% agree. 100% agree. And it's so frustrating when you think about it, because a proper victimology wasn't done for Teresa, as far as I'm aware. And I believe that deep diving into her past, who she associated with, could have easily brought up some avenues of discussion and investigation, which never took place.
And well, it seems to be a common theme in these. I found one. I'm not going to remember the name off the top of my head. There was a murder of a young lady in Green Bay or Madison, and it looks like a wrongful conviction. Her lesbian. She was a lesbian, and a lesbian woman was convicted of her murder. The Innocence Project is involved in it. I had never even heard of this case, and I've been researching constant murders and missing women for 3 years. And, and what's odd is there's several other women who disappeared or were killed in that area around that time frame whose cases have also not been solved. So it's a potential serial killer case, you know? I'm not
Correct.
saying it is, but I mean, on the surface, it makes you wonder. And I mean, are these guys just that clueless or that uninterested in protecting society that they'd just rather pin it on someone and make it go away?
Well, yeah. Well, the issue here is that Stephen Avery was really the only person looked at. The only person looked at. They weren't looking at MO of other killers, because if they did, they would have brought Sean Rudy in, right? They would have at least questioned Sean Rudy and checked his DNA, right? Because the way he killed his wife and what he did to her was exactly what happened to Teresa Horbach.
Well,
exactly.
There were several sex offenders on the Avery salvage yard, right? You know,
Yes.
like convicted of sex offenses. Several people on the Avery salvage yard on Halloween, the day
Yes.
was there, and you don't even hear about them. The only reason we know this is because we, as researchers, and I'm not just saying me, there's other people who have found this stuff out as well, have looked at these people and discovered that, you know, they had multiple offenses.
Correct.
You know, and I'm not talking about an Avery here. I'm talking about people who weren't related to the Averys. Then if you get into the Averys, you have even more. And it's just, you know, and that seems to be a theme in these cases, and not just in Manitowoc. They set their sights on someone, and they don't worry about what the victim was doing at all. They want to just pin it on someone and make it go away.
Yes, 100%. But we know in this case there was tremendous investigator bias, right from the get-go. Right? We've all heard the comments that Jacobs and others have made from day one, without any forensic evidence, with no testing, no nothing. They all honed in on one person and one person alone. And they really did lip service by saying that they looked at other people. And if they said, no, I didn't do anything, they said, okay. And they just let it go, which is a shocking thing. All right. Thank you, guys. Zoe, how about yourself? Do you have anything to say?
Well, yeah, what I've been doing is I've been putting some new case files into the library. We got some Luke Mitchell files and some Julius Jones files. So those files will be uploaded to the library
Awesome.
very, very soon. So I've been working on that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zoe. You put in a huge amount of work, especially putting up all those documents. And don't forget, guys, we have a very extensive website with hundreds and hundreds of documents ranging from the 1985 case all the way to a lot of cases, including new cases. And the documents are there for you to read and peruse at your leisure. Thank you so much, Zoe. All right, guys.
You're welcome.
Well,
Dr.
look,
Silkman,
Hey, Dr.
how's it
Silkman.
going with you?
That's the same thing I was going to ask you. Because Sammy wasn't here to ask you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was a hard week, a very hard week, a very heartbreaking week for me. I had to euthanize my dog, Dante. It was very distressing. My poor dog, he was suffering very bad from seizures. He had been suffering from seizures for about close to 4 or 5 years. And unfortunately, his seizures got worse and more intense. And the last seizure he had was a grand mal seizure and just about killed him. And it was very hard. We had to make the decision because he was suffering a lot. And, you know, it's hard, it's tough. You know, he was my buddy, and we had him cremated, and I've got his ashes in an urn shaped like a dog. So, you know, we'll never forget Dante. He was a great companion. But
how old was he?
He was 9, and most dogs survive till about 8 years if you have seizures. And he unfortunately had continual seizures. We did every test you can think of, and there was no solutions, unfortunately. He was very, very sick, and you look back when he was healthy, and then you compare to how he was, just like last week, you could tell that the poor guy had enough, and I didn't want to see him suffer anymore. And we had to do the hard thing. It was tough. And anyone who's has a pet that's ill or has seizures, you know what I'm talking about. The seizures are very, very frightening. And unfortunately, some dogs don't respond to medication. They just simply don't. And Dante was on 3 different anti-seizure medications. He was also diabetic as well. And we got the diabetes under good control because we had a glucose monitor on him. And the problem is that I never slept properly for about 4 or 5 years because I was up 2 or 3 times a night in case he had a seizure or he did have a seizure. And it was, we comforted him and looked after him. So it's hard. It's hard, but put it this way, he gives me strength and confidence to take on all challenges, because my dog, God bless him, he was a tough bugger. The amount of seizures he had and somehow he was able to recover gives me poor excuse to complain, So fingers crossed, I don't want to have any more pets. It's heartbreaking. We lost 2 of them. Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate that.
I'm sorry to hear that, Dr. Silkman.
That's okay. Yep, I appreciate that.
Everybody's sending you condolences in the audience.
Yeah. I
heard that a sick pet, especially the ones with seizures, because it's really rough to manage that and to watch it, after all, could consume your life to the point that you can't do that. It becomes a full-time job.
Oh, it does. It does. I remember doing podcasts in the past where often I had to stop the podcast and go run after my dog and attend to him. But even when he didn't have a seizure, I didn't sleep, or I've got 1 ear out for him. Yes, the seizures are very scary. If you've ever seen a dog have a seizure or an animal have a seizure, it's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So he's in a good place now. He's got no more seizures. He's running around catching bones and butterflies and stuff like that. I'm sure he's very happy where he is, Yeah. So the important thing is that now I look after myself and try and get healthy with my ulcer. So, fingers crossed. All right, guys. Well, look, if you've enjoyed our podcast, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And guys, like I said, we'll continue this next week. Thank you so much, guys. Much appreciated.
This has been a Foul Play production.